Hello everyone, welcome to another AdvoChats. I'm Sumhiya and I'm joined with Anu, who is a research associate at the Center for Public Policy Research in India. And we are going to be talking about legal barriers that women face in the workplace. And we'll also be talking a little bit about what we're doing in terms of the work on how we're looking at easing these legal barriers. Welcome to AdvoChats, Anu.
Thank you, Sumi, for having me, and thank you, Advocata, for this opportunity. And I think this is a very important topic that has to be discussed. I'm looking forward to a very good discussion with you.
Likewise, Anu. So, Anu, to just get us started with, wanted to ask you a little bit about the work that you're doing at CPPR and also a little bit about the work and the project you've been working on in relation to this topic for today.
Okay, to start with, I think I'll give you a brief introduction about the organization that I work in. So, about CPPR, we are based in Kochi, that is in Kerala, the southern state of India. But we do work throughout India. So this is an 18 years old organization with lots of experience in, especially in 10 areas. We work in 10 thematic areas, which includes urban transport, urban mobility, law and governance, international relations, election studies, and others. So regarding the project that I work in, I primarily work in women and livelihood issues. So the project is to ease the legal barriers for women to enter the workforce. So in our research, we found out that there are many laws that actually affect women from entering the workforce in different sectors of the economy. So we are trying to ease those restrictions through legal amendments, proposing legal amendments to the government. So that is the umbrella theme under which I work. So to be specific, the first sector which I work was in shops and establishments. So shops and establishments, there was a night shift restriction for women to work post 8 p.m. in the night. So second project is in factory sector. Again, the night shift restriction exists in factory sector as well for the women. Also, there are certain industries in Kerala where women can't work at all. For example, the dangerous and the hazardous industries. And the third sector which we are proposing to work is in hospitality industry. So these are the three areas which we work with respect to this project as of now. And definitely we would like to bring in more women to the workforce by easing the barriers. So
yeah. Anu, and also I think when we had a panel discussion at the Asia Liberty Forum in September, both of us spoke about similar projects. So even in Sri Lanka, Advocata has been working on this project on nighttime restrictions for women. So this was one component of a broader theme like you shared, which is on discriminatory labor laws that affect women. So we also looked at nighttime work and we looked at the restrictions that are imposed on women. So specifically that women are restricted from working at night, similar to the case in Kerala. And I think you covered various sectors. We particularly looked at the private sector. So we looked at what these restrictions are and also how we can ease these legal restrictions. So very similar to the work that you have also been doing in Kerala, Anu. So Anu, just if you could just tell us a little bit about the work you've done in Kerala in regards to the shop and establishments side of things.
Okay. In shops and establishments, since India is a federal country, both central and the state can make laws, and labor is a concurrent subject where both central and state governments can make laws. So the Kerala law on shops and establishment sector specifies that women couldn't work, women cannot work after 8 o'clock in the evening, like 8 p.m. in the evening during the night shift in shops and establishments. So this, this is a major legal barrier for women, especially in urban areas, I would say, because in urban areas in Kerala, the night economy is improving over a period of time. So we were pushing amendments. We were pushing amendments to the government to change this particular law so that we can bring in more women to the sector. So, and this was, this is a very successful project of CPPR. We could actually push for the amendment, and the amendment came into being in 2018. And if you visit Kochi now, you can actually see the impact. So the college-going students, especially in urban areas, the college-going students, they're taking up jobs after their college hours in restaurants, in cafes, post 8 o'clock. And I think the night economy is also improving, along with women getting more opportunities. So this is a very essential component of the state's growth as well as the nation's growth. So bringing more women to the segment, also giving more ease of doing business for the employee to thrive. Secondly, the same, but still there are certain hurdles even in those laws. For example, when they brought in the amendment, when the state brought in the amendment, again the safety and security part of women, safety and security for women, the protective argument always comes above the women's opportunities or the employment rights. So the state have brought in certain conditions on the employers if they have to employ women after 8 p.m. in the night. Like they have to take care of their safety, security, they have to be provided with the transportation facilities till their doorstep, till their residence. And there are many other restrictions, like there has to be minimum of 2 women working in a group of 5. So there are like specifications regarding the numbers. How many women should be there during night shift if you have to put in women in the night. So these are all based on the safety argument, like the safety and security of the women. So there are certain, I think these responsibilities being put on the employers. The cost of employing women becomes more when you compare it with men. So from the employer's perspective, sometimes these restrictions, these conditions on the employer can act as a impediment for women to get employed. So when you make a policy, there are certain inadvertent consequences like this. So it might be, the intention might be good, but when it comes to practicality, the practical implementation will result in a negative effect, not the one which you intended for. So this is happening with respect to shops and establishment. The second one in the series of projects is in factories. In factories, there are 2 major restrictions for women to get employed. The first one is night shift restriction. Again, women cannot work in factories in Kerala post 7 p.m. till 6 a.m. in the morning. There are certain exceptions given to certain industries by the government to engage women till 10 in the night, and the only exempted industry to work during night shifts is seafood industries, seafood factories. And the reason which they say is that the perishability of the goods. So they have given that exemption for seafood industries. But apart from seafood industries, all other factories, if they have to engage women during night shifts after 7 p.m. till 10 p.m., then they have to get special permissions from the government. That is a present situation. So we will be giving amendment. We will be proposing an amendment to this existing law to the government to ease these restrictions, like to take away the night shift restriction in every factory. Maybe you can restrict it just to pregnant women, which is actually logical. So that is one thing. Second is also women are not allowed in those industries which state government consider as dangerous for women. So we had visited a coir factory. Okay, so coir and cashew are 2 major industries in Kerala. So there is a restriction in coir sector, in coir factory, that women will not be allowed in stenciling and dyeing of maps. So stenciling and dyeing means the printing of mats. So they use chemical dyes generally in that process. So it is considered to be hazardous for women. I don't know whether it will affect. In my personal opinion, it affects both gender, but the law say that it affects women more. Yeah. So there is a restriction with respect to this activity. So we went to see what the activity is all about. So when we went to one of the coir factories in Kerala, what we understood is that, see, the law which is in place is in the law which currently is in force, it is of 1957. So the technology have improved, and what they use is water-based dyes instead of chemical-based dyes, which are which are less harmful compared to the product which they used before. So also the finishing work of these dyeing of mats is actually done by women, even though the legal restriction exists. So it can be done by women, but they're just restricting this activity just for women, and women are generally engaged in these factories in unskilled jobs, like which do not require much of training or skills. And the technical and the machinery to operate the machineries and other technical jobs, it is being reserved for men. So there is a gender stereotyping that comes out of this legal restriction. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are creating a gender stereotyping of jobs. And in cashew sector also, the basic peeling of cashews, it is done by women. It is an unskilled job. But those activities like roasting and processing of these cashew nuts, they are reserved for men, saying that it's hazardous for women. So when you assess the restrictions, you can see that most of the highly paid jobs compared to the other unskilled jobs, they are reserved for men. This is a very serious issue which we have to think about. So we are working on these sectors. We are trying to get an amendment, changes in the existing law, and that is also a very old law, which came in 1957. So this is a work which I am currently doing. And the third one, which I presented in Asia Liberty Forum, where you were also there. So the third project which is proposed is in hospitality industry, where women are not allowed to work as bar attendants or mixologists in bars and hotel establishment having bar license in Kerala. So there was a recent incident which I discussed in Asia Liberty Forum, like a bar being suspended with their license just because they engaged women as bartenders. So that is the third third project in the series of work that we are doing. So generally all of these projects, they are aimed at giving more economic freedom to women, to just lift the restrictions, give more opportunities for women to choose from. So currently the state is deciding where women should work, at what time women should work. So she should be given the equal opportunity, equal choices. Being a human, it's a basic human right. That's what I think.
Thank you for sharing that, Anu, because a lot of what you said is very relatable as well to the Sri Lankan context. So just like you shared, many of these laws were, put in place many years ago, and in Sri Lanka, particularly during the British rule. So because of that, a lot of these laws, which at the time meant to be protective towards women and they were meant to provide certain safety measures for women, and when you apply it to the current context where a lot of development has taken place in terms of technology, in terms of how the work environment is like right now, when you apply these laws, there's a lot of indirect discrimination that goes that is placed on women, right? Just like you said, similarly, just like in Kerala, even in Sri Lanka. So in particular, when I was talking about night work, so even we covered 3 different sectors. So we covered the tourism sector, the manufacturing sector, and the IT and BPM sector. So even in that, particularly if we look at the IT and BPM sector, women are not allowed to work beyond 8 p.m., right? And this restriction, how it affects women is that, if they want to work, during international time zones, this becomes a restriction on them, because usually international time zones would be night work for us. So then this provides as a restriction towards women. So them not being able to do this legally is an issue, right? But something that in the case of Sri Lanka, there is one exception though, that there is something called administrative relaxation which is applied. Now, what this is, it's basically it relaxes the law, and it basically eases the law to allow women to work overtime. Nighttime, right? But the issue with this is that it is not formally recognized by law. It's only a practice, so it's not formalized in any way. So what happens is, like, if women work at night, so say in the IT and BPM sector, and through the application of administrative relaxation, and they face any kind of issues in by working at night, then if they go and raise this issue at the labor department, it won't be recognized, because it is again only a practice and not in law. So issues like this arise, so which is why we need to have formal laws to cover this, right? So so I think, like, just like in Kerala, a lot of similarities in terms of the law and how it is outdated and needs to be renewed are there. But I think, Anu, something that we spoke about earlier as well is, why is easing legal barriers important? Why should it be done? How does it benefit women? So maybe we can talk a little bit about that in terms of general context.
First and foremost, see, presently, if you take the case of Kerala, Kerala has a high unemployment rate, and most of the job seekers are women. And the statistics say that about 63% of job seekers in Kerala are women. And also, women in Kerala, if you ask me, we are far ahead with respect to all the human development indicators like education, health, and other things. But we lack enough number of jobs to be catered to all these segments of the population. That is one major issue. And actually, one of the reasons for this high unemployment rates, one of the reasons would be these legal barriers. Like, they cannot choose a job which they would like to do at a time which they would like to do, because care economy is something which we have to definitely take, like care responsibilities of women. So in the social context, I mean, not only in Kerala, it's an international phenomenon that women are being considered as the primary caregivers. So when she has some other responsibilities in her household, she should be at least given a choice to work when she wants to work, at least the time. So I think if we take away these legal restrictions, the legal barriers, she can choose where she should work and at what time she can work. This can actually bring in a lot of change in the society as well, how they view women. So in the long term, I'm not saying it's a very immediate goal, but in the long term, what I feel is, if we can bring more women to the night shifts, if they're taking up night shift jobs and all that, the night economy will improve. Also, I think it will become the night will become more safer for women, with more women coming out to the streets to enjoy food at a restaurant or to work at night, whatever it may be. So more women coming into the public space during night will make night more safer for women. That's one thing. Secondly, easing these restrictions will open up more opportunities for women. This will, in turn, will help us, I think, to achieve the gender equality goal, which we all are striving towards. The SDG goal number 5, which says that we should attain gender equality by 2025. So I don't think it is an attainable goal by 2025, but still, this is something which we should do. This is a very basic thing that we should do. We should take away the legal restrictions, then strive towards bringing more employment opportunities. Without taking away the legal restrictions, if we are trying to bring in more job opportunities, I don't think that will work, because it will be limited. Just if you are looking only for the regular jobs during the regular hours, the scope of those job opportunities are limited. So if you can take these legal barriers regarding night shift restrictions, regarding women working in dangerous factories, then the job opportunities are widened. So that you can bring in more women, you can bring in more opportunities as well. Thirdly, I think these legal restrictions are also affecting the business opportunities. It will create a more it will help in easing the business barriers for women, even women to start a new business. So there should be bare minimum regulations from the part of the government, so that people can start new ventures and also hire more women. So I think these are the effects which will eventually come out of this amendments if they are coming into practice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And also, I think something that is very common in both the organizations and in terms of the work we do is economic freedom. So I think by removing these barriers and removing these legal restrictions, you give more freedom for women to be part of the workplace. And I think a couple of other things that I remember we spoke about during our panel in Manila was, you know, how it gives way for the next generation of women and girls, and it basically paves the way for them. So, you know, having more women in the workforce, having more women be successful and accepted in the workforce, and without these legal restrictions, also promotes and also encourages and gives more opportunities for women and girls moving forward. And I think something else is in terms of financial security and financial independence, right? I think giving more opportunities for women, including them in the workforce, gives them the ability to be more financially independent, and also contribute to to the household. And I think something, if I were to apply to the Sri Lankan context right now, you know, Sri Lanka is going through one of the worst economic crises, and something that needs to be done is, you know, having a second person in the family who's earning an income is something that is really essential, especially for low and middle income households in Sri Lanka. So, you know, giving women that opportunity to be in the workforce and making it easier for them to be part of the workforce, you know, helps them, especially during times like this when there is an economic crisis. And then I also think, I think you also covered this in terms of economic development, and also in terms of productivity. Having more women also allows, you know, companies and organizations to improve its productivity, as, you know, you're increasing the output by including more women. So I think these are a couple of things that, you know, we spoke about as well. And I also think that these are some ways in which we can, by including these, women can be more included. And I think, Anu, do you have anything else to add other than this?
Regarding the productivity factor,
yeah,
I had the opportunity to talk to one of the former executive directors who worked with tire industry, who worked in the tire industry. So in the tire industry, generally women were not employed before, because it was like very arduous job. So, but in the recent times, many of the tire manufacturers are coming forward to take up more women in the sector, especially because of the advancements in science and technology. They can afford lighter machineries now. There is the machineries can be customized in a way that it is lighter for the women to work. So he was saying his experience with respect to bringing more women to the workforce, especially the tire manufacturing sector, in different states in India, not in Kerala, but in Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat. So he was saying the laws are actually very different in different states. So when he tried this in Gujarat, in their Gujarat plant, they actually planned for a shop floor where 40% of them will be women and 60% was reserved for men. So they actually planned the plans in such a way that they could accommodate 40% of women. But when they proposed this idea to the government, even the government was very supportive, but at that time there was a legal restriction as to the night shifts. So these kind of factories, they work in 3 shifts because they have to keep the machinery running. So when it is a 3 shift in a factory, and if the law allows only women to work in one of those shifts, depending on the time, then the employers will not hire women because it's very difficult for them to adjust the shifts.
Exactly.
And the shifts will be, even the men will protest because they will have to do more work in 2 other shifts. So generally the 3 shift system, those factories that are in a 3 shift system, they generally don't prefer women. So that was because of the legal restriction. So the government was very positive about this, and they promised the manufacturer that they will ease the restrictions. But they based on that assurance, they actually went forward, planned in such a way that they can accommodate 40% women. But the government did not keep up their word. They didn't change the law. They couldn't bring in the amendment within that time span. So they had to limit the numbers to 10%, and that too in the administrative work. They couldn't bring women to the shop floor. But this was not the case in Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, because the government was very supportive and the night shift restrictions was eased for these factories, and they could actually bring in more women to the workforce. And what you were saying regarding the productivity that you were saying, so he was saying when more women were in the factory floors, men, the discipline and other factors improved on the factory floors. Yeah, so those managers who were put in to manage the disciplinary issues in the factory could actually work in other segments, not in the disciplinary, because bringing a gender inclusive workplace, what we said was, a gender inclusive workplace can improve the disciplinary part of it, also the productivity. And he was saying there was no less productivity when women were included in the workforce. It was like similar to what it was there before, or even better. So this is a personal experience. This is an experience which I had with in one of my stakeholder interviews during the project. And he was saying in Kerala, what he thinks is the 3 shift systems, the factories which follow the 3 shifts, if they have to employ more women, the night shift is a major barrier. They should take away the night shift restrictions, only then they can bring in more women. So even when I had conversations with some of the PSUs in Kerala, public sector companies in Kerala, most of them, the large companies, they work on a 3 shift basis. Even the public sector as well as the private sector, those are into this type of tire manufacturing or chemical industries, they are working on a 3 shift. So the 3 shifts is actually a barrier for women to work because of the night shift restriction. So it's actually taking away a lot of opportunities for women. So that is one thing. Second is, women are being restricted to the administrative work because of the night shift restrictions, and it is affecting their promotions also. Because when their men colleagues are getting promoted in a faster way, they are having better career growth, but they are being not given equal promotions or perquisites as that of the men. So that is another issue which they highlighted. Third one was, we had a similar case in High Court of Kerala recently, where this woman, she was working as a safety trainee in one of the PSUs in Kerala, which actually worked in a 3 shift, okay? So she was a graduate trainee there as a safety officer. So when they put out a permanent job notification, she was not allowed to apply. Since it's a 3 shift job, where the job is, it's like a 24/7 job. So they only prefer men. So the job notification itself told only male can apply. So she filed a case before the High Court, and High Court actually gave a verdict saying that the state should not bring up the protective argument when a woman is qualified to do a job. She should be allowed to at least apply for the job. It's like she can't even apply for the job because of being a woman.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So the state, I mean, the High Court actually asked the government to change the law to bring in more easiness in these laws. Like now the problem is the Kerala government brought out a draft rules very recently, easing the night shift barrier, but with so many conditions. Like what I said, they should give the transportation, they should give them accommodation whenever necessary. They should give, I mean, they should at least have women supervisors on the shop floors, which is rational, but the proportion is not rational. Like 1 in every 3 supervisors should be women supervisors. And also, they are trying to impose a minimum number. Like 2 out of every 5 should be women. So it's like a big proportion. So if you have 100 people working in a shop floor, you should have 40, minimum 40 women to have them in the night shifts. And I think it's a very difficult proportion to meet, at least now, because of the very low female participation in factories or the manufacturing sector. So to increase the number, the government should put bare minimum regulations or bare minimum safety mechanisms in the law rather than putting too many conditions which actually in effect will not give the intention or achieve the objective like to bring in more women to the workforce. So this is something which we are trying to address in this project.
Right.
I have many good experiences talking to many people, like how they perceive this issue. And one of the other issues which the tire manufacturer highlighted was that again the social and cultural barriers are active. But even when you remove the legal barriers, there are social issues. Like the parents see factories as a unsafe place for women to work. So what they did was, I found it very interesting. That's why I'm sharing. So what the tire manufacturers, the particular company which I interviewed, what they did was, as part of the HR policy, when they engage women, when they hire women, they will ask their parents also to accompany for the interview and other discussions, so that they can explain to the parents what are the protective measures taken by the company, what are the areas where women will work. Like they'll take the parents for a factory visit and show them what are the safety mechanisms in place, just to convince them that the child will be safe here, the women will be safe here. So that is one thing. And second, what they did was that once they are hired, they used to skill them. Also, there were women empowerment teams in the company who actually talk to the women, see whether there are any issues that they face, and try to also make them more empowered to talk about their issues and problems. So, and he told it was quite successful. They could actually increase the proportion of women in the factory floors to about 35%, and it's a good model that they work on. So, yeah, this can be adopted by at least some of the companies.
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting, especially the case studies you shared with me, Anu. And I think, Anu, one of the main issues that, we had in particularly with nighttime work is with transportation for women, right? So even in our report and in our research, that was one of the issues that we highlighted as well, that, while we ease these restrictions on women, to work at night, the second layer of issue is, do they have the transportation, or can the employer provide transportation for women, to who work at night to commute back home? And I think those were one of our recommendations as well. We took from the Kerala shops and establishments act, especially on the work that you all have done. and we tried to replicate a similar recommendation in terms of how we can provide for transportation. Anu, if you can tell me a little bit about what you all did in terms of that and how you all tackled that issue with transportation.
In transportation, what we are trying to propose is, see, the law says that the employer should be responsible for the transportation part. But in transportation, there are many issues, and it has got many layers. First and foremost, if the employer has to give the transportation, one, the cost. Cost is an important factor. Maybe it might be affordable for the large companies. So those companies which I interviewed, those large companies, they are already giving transportation during day shifts. So they are finding it okay to give it during night shifts also. But those companies which are not that established, or the smaller companies, they find it as a very difficult thing to work. So one of the proposals which we thought of giving is they can actually, like a pool of employers can give a common transportation facility. So usually the factories, they work in industrial estates. So they work in a common area. So they can actually come together, form associations. There are associations, trade associations. So maybe they can provide transportation as a collective thing, rather than putting the responsibility on a single employer. That was another suggestion we thought of. And third thing is, there is a problem with regard to the privacy part of it. Like when you are mandating transportation by the employer has to take care of the many aspects. Like the women, he should see whether the women reached her home safely. So there has to be women security officers. In some of the states, they are proposing CCTV surveillance in the bus or the vehicle that they use for the transportation. So there is a little bit of a privacy issue in that part. So also the law doesn't mention about those women who have their own transportation facilities, like whether they can use it, whether they have to go by the transportation which is provided by the employer, or whether they can use their own transportation. So since the law doesn't answer these questions, so during our survey what we found out was some of the companies, what they do is, the women is using her transportation, then they will take an undertaking from the women saying that she will be responsible for whatever happens if something happens during the journey to her house, that they will not, like a waiver of responsibility from the part of the employer. That's what they do as of now. But these are many smaller and trivial issues which comes under the transportation clause, which the law doesn't address properly. So we are trying to convince the government, saying that the sole responsibility of transportation should not be on a particular employer. It should be a collective effort. When it comes to smaller companies, they should be able to take a collective effort and pools many employers and provide a common transportation. That is one of the suggestions. Second, the trade associations themselves can take up some of the initiatives. Third, we have to actually uh, bring in a clarity in these areas, like when women use their own transportation, what should be the law. So these are some things which we are thinking to give up more clarity to the government, to convince the government to clear up the ambiguities in the law.
Right, okay. Yeah, and also, I just wanted to talk a little bit about also, in terms of reforms and recommendations, what is being done, and also what positives we see. So just before that, I also do want to mention to the audience who are listening and watching, if you have any questions, go ahead and put it on the comment box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be happy to answer. Yeah, so Anu, I think I just want to start off by telling a little bit about what we were doing. So, in terms of again nighttime work, I spoke about the IT and BPM sector, and some positives that we see is that there has been a proposal to remove these restrictions on nighttime work for women in the IT sector and allow them to work, during international time zones, and this is a positive thing that we see. And especially because we had spoken about this early this year in March, and to see that reform hopefully taking place and will be implemented in the coming future is a positive that we see. So I think you too mentioned one thing that is being done in terms of reform. So is there anything else that we see in Kerala in terms of reforms to remove these legal barriers?
Um, I think us, the present government is actually supporting this nightlife. They are bringing up many concepts regarding nightlife, night economy to boost the economy. So, so I think this is the right time to push the amendment so that we can bring in the women factor also to the night economy. That is one thing. So, secondly, some other suggestions. The general suggestion would be the state should minimize their role as a regulator and act as a facilitator or an enabler to bring in more businesses as well as easing the barriers for any gender to work, irrespective of men or women or other gender. Every person, every human should be given her the choice to work. The job, the right to choose the job as well as the time and the place of work. Everything should be equally given to every human being. That's a very basic human right that has to be ensured by, and that is guaranteed under many international conventions as well as the Constitution of India.
Yeah.
So, and we are just trying to implement those things. So, implementation level, most of these laws fail. So, I think we should actually have a pre-legislative research before making policies and laws, like how it will impact the larger audience there, or whether it will reach the intended objective, rather than just putting up so many conditions and everything.
Yeah.
So, pre-legislative, I always feel there is a lack of pre-legislative research. Also, when a law is implemented, you should have a post-legislative, like impact study on how the law behaves. And you have to bring in necessary amendments when the time passes. Like, the problem is most of the laws have age-old laws, and the technology and the circumstances have changed a lot, like a lot. So you have to bring in those changes according to the times, which is not seen in many of the countries. I think the case is same with Sri Lanka and Kerala. I mean, India. So yeah. So the general suggestion would be there should be a legislative research before, a well thought out process before bringing a policy, so that we can implement it in a better way. Implementation is the largest hurdle which is faced by the government as well as the other machineries in place. So it has to be there. Only then the rights can be better guaranteed and exercised.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you when you said, the government should be a facilitator, not a regulator. And similarly, in terms of implementation, I think that is also a major issue that we face in Sri Lanka as well. So, Anu, with that, I think it brings us to the end of our discussion. If you have any thoughts you would like to share right now, please go ahead and then we can close.
I think I covered almost all the points which I wanted to talk about, and I'm so happy to interact with you, Sumi. And it was a great experience talking to you regarding the similar projects that we have in Sri Lanka and Kerala. And I look forward to more engagement with Advocata and the work that you do. And I appreciate your work that you do in Sri Lanka.
Of course, likewise. We appreciate the work as well, and I think it's really about comparing, the issues and the similar issues that we're facing, and also trying to find solutions and recommendations, and really seeing whether, whether these recommendations have worked in another country, and if it can be implemented in our country. So I think also because we're in the same region, it helps us really clearly identify the issues and then propose recommendations that we see fit. So yeah, thank you very much, Anu, for joining us, and thank you to all our listeners and to our audience for listening in. And I would just like to remind everyone to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter, to stay updated on more chats like this, and also other work that we do at Advocata. Again, thank you very much, Anu, and thank you everyone, and hope you all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.